It's a great day to talk hockey with Grant McCagg on HabsCast.
What do you think of that intro, Rick?
Oh man, how could you not love it? Like the great Dick Irvin. We all
Saying
grew
my
up on
name.
him. We still listen to him now, and we're very thankful that he did it for you and for us, Grant. It's just awesome.
Yeah. I mean, just hearing him say my name is just, I don't
Wow.
know. It's like, yeah, pinch me.
Oh
It's,
man, that's just wild.
I mean, you're old enough to have remembered Dick,
Mhm.
obviously still doing play-by-play. I mean, I listened to him. I grew up in an era when a lot of the Canadians games weren't on TV. So, I mean, you listen to them on the radio, right? I never missed a game, and Dick was the radio guy. And so, I mean, I grew up with Dick Irvin. So, I took radio broadcasting. My first thing that I studied in college, and then I switched to journalism when I discovered I didn't think that I was, I don't know, confident enough to be. But I wanted to be like the next Dick Irvin, right?
Oh yeah.
That was the thought, But then I thought, okay, I'm never going to be Dick Irvin, you know. It kind of, and so I switched to journalism, and well, the rest is history. Here I am, full circle. The guy that
Yeah.
the guy that got me into college is now doing my intro, so it's pretty cool. Um, yeah, so the Habs won again last night,
Mhm.
6-2. They came on late. It was hey, let's have a look at the standings here. I like to see this when I wake up in the morning. Atlantic Division, Habs on top. Now, if you would have going into the season, if you'd have said, okay, Canadians and Bruins will be second and third, and Panthers and Maple Leafs will be out of the playoffs, wouldn't have been a lot of people predicting that, right?
No. But I think
Excuse me.
Montreal is the best. Like that was the most possible option. I think we both thought Florida might struggle a little bit, but it's probably a little bit worse than we imagined, and they're really kind of behind the eight ball because it's salary cap space and assets to try to get the team back on track. It's going to be hard for them to manage that. It's okay. They won 2 Stanley Cups in a row. They don't, it's perfectly understandable. Boston is a real surprise. Just because of the struggles they had last year and some of the injuries they're facing this year. Toronto, I thought they'd do better than this, but we also kind of felt like they were not a team that couldn't be considered a serious Stanley Cup contender anymore because I think the window's closed, or it's practically closed. At least it's closing quickly to be sure.
Yeah, you were on record saying that, and I mean, yeah, we both. I don't think we're surprised that the Canadians are on top right now, but I think most people still expected to see Tampa, Toronto, Florida on top, even with Barkov out and Kachuk out. But it just goes to show that it's a thin line between being at the top and being in the middle, and a couple of key injuries can make the difference, right? So
yes,
like Evan Rodriguez centering the first line versus Alexander Barkov, yeah, you got to expect a dip there, right?
Right.
Boston, I think, it gives you an idea of just how valuable a player Charlie McAvoy is. I think him returning, as Zadora's playing pretty solid hockey too. He's become like maybe the most physical force in the league there back there.
Oh man, yeah, he's looking for bodies to hit right now.
Yeah.
He's a little bit angry, and quickly though, you just mentioned about how injuries can affect a team. No, I think Ottawa is a great example of that. Right, they're missing that big piece, and it seems to be just hurting the whole team.
Yeah, they've been struggling a bit too. Let's bring up those standings again, but it's so close, right? I mean, look at like the Leafs and the Sens are 5 points back of the Canadians, which is, one bad week and one good week, and all of a sudden it's tied. So, but I think what I like here, which is the goal differential. Last night helped, but the Habs are plus 10. The only other team that's got a decent goal differential right now is Tampa at plus 5, and then you got several that are that are in the negative, the Sens and Panthers included. Buffalo, well, Buffalo's Buffalo, right? They just keep trudging along there. Surely it's the last year for their GM. Like I didn't know, I wasn't sure how he was still employed after last year, but I think they're going to have to blow it up in the front office again this upcoming off season. If they don't do it mid-season, you might even see changes midstream with the Sabres. This was interesting. Of all players with 10 NHL games, Kapanen is 10th, Newhook 21st, Demidov is 38th, and Kirby Dach is 48th in the NHL in points per 60 minutes on even strength. Tonight's game not included. So Kapanen had 2 points last night. So he's firmly ensconced in the top 10. He might be top 5 now. But then the other one that of all players with 10 games, Kapanen is 10th in NHL in points on even strength. This was, again, not including last night. He's just ahead above Bedard, Celebrini, Stützle, Scheifele, and Nathan McKinnon in points per 60 minutes at even strength. So that's pretty impressive for a rookie center, right? Yet, you still see people saying, well, we got to go get a second line center. Why isn't Dach playing with Demidov now? Because Dach has a few goals in his last few games. But, that first stat, all three of the guys in that line are top 40 in like Demidov's 38, Newhook 21, Kapanen 10, in the top 40 in points per 60 at even strength, which tells me that line is it's one of the most productive even strength lines in the entire league. So why would you want to change that right now with a team that's tied for first in the conference?
No, I have thoughts on that too, Grant, and I agree with you 100% on this one. I know last year Doc maybe was coming back from an injury, and maybe the conditioning wasn't what they hoped it would be. I understand all that. There was also, though, the idea that I don't think Doc and Newhook have a ton of chemistry together.
Right.
Newhook needs to pick up the pace. It's a puck possession game, east-west movement, getting into the zone quickly. Doc's game is not suited for creativity. And you're noticing that right now with Bolduc and Gallagher, it works. It's a simple, straight ahead, go to the net, no fantasy stuff going on. With Newhook, he's found his guys with Kapanen and Demidov. A lot of movement, a lot of speed, puck possession game. You've got to find, it's not just putting the best players together, but it's the right chemistry. And the right chemistry right now, they have it on those lines. Like, why change that now at this point? Why try to get cute about things and mess things up? The guys have chemistry. We see what happens with chemistry when Suzuki, Caulfield, and Slavkovsky are together. They find each other on the ice.
Right.
The Habs should stick with that right now. Make those guys work together. Make them get that instinct, that sense of where the other players are going to do, where they're going to be, and work with that. There's no point to getting cute and trying to reinvent the wheel right now. It's working. Go with it. Don't mess around with that.
Yeah. And the other thing, one of the reasons it makes sense to get another center, aside from the fact that you could use a less center, and you've mentioned that once or twice, Rick, it is face-off percentage, right? But the Canadians, the last 10 games have been above 50%. They're winning more draws than they're losing. Miraculously, with 4 right-handed centers,
Centers.
So the need to get a center for faceoffs is not as
No.
as critical as we thought going into the season too. After losing Dvorak, who was the team's best faceoff guy, and you take him on the lap, but I keep rounding back to there aren't a lot of possibilities to come back, like for the Canadians to pick up at center without spending a lot, and bringing back Dvorak could be a possibility again if Philly's out of the race, and you see how much chemistry he has. Like he was one of the most popular players on the team last year, and Caulfield's best buddy, I think, really, and yeah, he kills penalties. He's left. He can win a lot of important draws. He might be a guy that if they are going to bring back somebody and they don't want to mess with chemistry necessarily, it might be someone like Dvorak that gets picked up at the trade deadline. It wouldn't be the first guy to come back to the team that he left. I know Dvorak loved it in Montreal, so it wouldn't be an issue for him. So,
no, on the contrary, imagine his teammates, like the excitement they would feel to have their buddy back. It means something to them, right? The playoffs are about to start. You acquired a guy like Dvorak to play, the 12 forward on the team. Maybe put him on the line. Maybe he's the guy you put with Evans and Anderson, right? Where if you have a face-off that's important, you put in Dvorak or Evans, depending on where it is, and you put him on the penalty kill, and you give him roles like that. That might be an option for Montreal later on in the year. I totally agree with you on that, because I think right now, short of Crosby, I don't know who else Montreal would acquire at center that would be an upgrade, right?
Yeah. Like maybe Bo Horvat, but even Kapanen is playing so well. I just it'd have to be like a top flight center to be playing better than these guys. He's on pace for 33 goals, which is let's just have a look at something here. In the last 15 years, Rick, these are the centers, okay, with their top goals. Matthews had 40. Gord, that's misleading because he had 6 goals the year before. So really, in his rookie year, he had 25. So it wasn't 31 in 1 year. Mike Hoffman has never been a center, so I don't know why.
That was my first reaction. What?
Yeah. So the NHL does that sometimes. They have a guy stuck, just like Zegras too. You could, I don't know.
Yeah,
He played
Tyler
more center
Johnson
than
has
wing.
also flipped around a little bit. He
Yeah.
wasn't always center.
No, exactly. But I mean, you look at that list. There's some terrific players, but it just goes to show that to step into the NHL and even score 20 goals at center as a rookie, like you're kind of, you don't play huge minutes because it's just so hard to step in as a rookie at center in the NHL and face top 2 lines and do the job all around. And Kapanen is doing that. Like he's not being sheltered by playing against fourth lines because teams are putting good lines out there to have to shut down Demidov, right? They're not.
Right. Of
They're
course,
matching
yes.
up. They're matching up lines that are good defensively because Demidov is so dangerous. So they're not facing poor lines. They're facing good lines. His points per 60 are great. I mean, if he was getting the amount of ice time that some of the centers on that list got as rookies, like he might have 10 goals at this point, or 8.
Right,
so
right.
It's just I and like even in the live chat last night, the most common topic still is, what center can we pick up? And at some point, if this continues, surely people will finally just say, okay, the grass isn't greener on the other side. We've got the guys right here that can do the job at center.
Yeah. And I think too, with Montreal entering their windows opening now, you're thinking it's going to be open for many years. You got to be a little bit careful too, because what is Orvat's salary? 8 or 9 million, I think, right now. It's
Yeah.
eight. I believe it's 8 million. I think he's 30 or 31 right now
Yeah.
for another 4 or 5, 6 years.
Well, that's it.
There's a little bit of a fear that maybe in 3 years he starts to struggle, and that's be a lot of cap to take on to a player that might not be the same as he once was. You got to be a little careful. That's one of the reasons why I would say, maybe a guy like Crosby, he's only signed for 2 years, and he might be good for another 4, but you're not stuck with that contract for many, many years where you
Right.
you you kind of wonder about. And same thing with Kadri, and I said the same thing. If Montreal were thinking of acquiring him, it has to start with a good deal of salary retained, or else I wouldn't be interested. If they're not, that's the beginning of the discussion. Has to be that. Are you willing to retain? If you are, we could start talking about the possibility, see what's out there, see if it works. Because there is a bit of bite that Kadri brings, and he's still a good player. But I'm not willing to give the farm up to get Kadri either.
No.
As you said, because Montreal is not desperate to acquire another center, not at all.
Yeah.
So you could just pick and choose the deal that works for you. Basically, Montreal should be going for a steal at this point. Like if you're willing to let me
Right.
rob you of a player, great.
Yeah.
If not, there's no need for me to chase after anybody.
Yeah. Like a Sean Monahan deal.
Right.
First round pick and Sean Monahan or for nothing.
Yeah. Actually, it was 2 first-round picks for Sean Monahan in a way,
Well,
right?
as it
They
turned
got a
out,
first, I think.
yeah. So, but it's typically, they always say, don't make a trade. Make a trade from a position of strength, not from a position of weakness.
Yeah.
And going into the year, and I said it at the time, don't make a deal out of desperation,
Right.
because you're perceived to be in a position of weakness. Let's see what Kapanen. Let's see how Dach looks. Let's see how Kapanen, if he
Right.
makes a team, and I was pretty sure he would. Let's see how he looks, and they both look good. So
Yeah.
now they're no longer in a position of weakness. They're in
Right.
almost like in a position of strength, really, especially when you consider the young, Zurowski's playing center too, and he's looking really good. Hage has made a big step. I'm a lot more comfortable with him perhaps being a center down the line
Oh, wow.
at the NHL. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I haven't seen him, so I can't. But if you
Yeah.
say so, I'll take it to the bank. No problem.
Well, I mean, an NHL scout who I really respect saw him a couple weeks ago, and I asked him, do you think he projects as an NHL? Said, oh yeah, he
Wow,
was.
great.
His pace was great. Like, that's a very important aspect for a center, is being able to keep up with the pace, especially coming back. And as we've seen with Kapanen, I think he's gotten faster as the season's gone along. Last night he was just blazing. I think he was the best player on the Canadians last night. Really
Oh,
good.
yeah. Yeah, he was
And
really good for sure.
and but yeah, you've got Jurowski, Papanicus, Koivu's playing pretty well. There Jack Eye's a good prospect at center as well. The cupboard's pretty full right now. It's pretty stocked. So, that's the other point with what you're saying about picking up a center that's got a few years left on his contract. Well, then you're blocking some of these guys from getting a legitimate
Yeah.
shot at playing top 3 center role for a few
Yeah.
years too, right? And they're all going to come in with ELCs, which, compared to an $8 million salary like Horvat or whatever, whatever the case may be, that frees up space at another position. Like right now, the Canadians look more like they could use a winger, uh, someone to replace Veleno more so in the top 12 right now with Laine's injury, right? Than acquiring a center.
Yeah, that's a good point too. Like maybe that's where Montreal needs to improve, or again, we were saying before, right on a center,
A
left
center
left shot
winger.
center that could play wing and that
Right.
could play on the bottom. Just give Marty St. Louis a little bit of options to play around with,
Yeah.
and really, I like the idea of acquiring another center too, because God forbid if one of the centers gets injured, it's easier
Sure.
to get somebody there. Where if you got a guy like that's a typical right winger, let's say, and you can't really put him at center, right? The center
Yeah.
could be at the wing, but not the other way around. So that kind of player maybe becomes a good option for Montreal, and we'd have to go through the league. But it may be a situation too where they're going to acquire a depth player later on for a third round pick that might do, I'm just going to throw out a Nick Bustad of this world, right? A big guy who could play center, who's center for the wing, who plays at the bottom, and could pitch in a goal here and there. Be all Montreal really needs at this point, and that's great. They could do that a million times
Right.
over, and it's not always the big name; it's the right name, right? Last year, Montreal acquired Carrier, not a big deal, not a big name, but oh boy, was that effect changed everything for Montreal
It
because they
did.
got the right player. That's what they needed.
Yeah.
And that's what you should go for, not just getting the best player because, and I always come up to the same example, and I know he's a player that's criticized a lot, but Pierre-Luc Dubois, right, a few years ago, uh, LA gave the Moon a whole lot to get him to make his acquisition. They paid him a lot, but they already had Dano, and they already had
Kopitar.
brain cramp,
Kopitar.
their main center. They had to put
Kopitar.
Kopitar. That's it. I kept thinking Kemp for some reason, but it's Kopitar. But they had to move Dubois on the third line, and he wasn't what they needed, and he wasn't put in a position where he could justify his salary, and it messed up the whole team. It messed up the player. They had to give him up, and they had to find somebody to take his contract, and they could have probably had more. Now he gets moved to another organization. They have a spot that suits him, and now he becomes a very good acquisition to Washington. It's the same player they had in LA, but he was not the right player, and that becomes important. Don't just get the best player out there who's a name, and then you don't have a spot for him. That makes sense.
Yeah. Well, like a C/W, like someone that can play either. And I mean, you get a center, and they can always move to the wing too.
Yeah.
And Dach could always move to the wing, although I still think he can become a very
Yes.
good set. The signs are starting to point towards
Oh
it.
yeah.
It's starting to look like he could be a good center again too, right? I thought before his knee injuries that 1 year he was on pace for about 50 points. He was playing well defensively, coming down low, helping out his defenseman a lot, fighting, playing physical. He's not like that part is still in progress because I think he's still got to get his legs back to what they were before. But
Yeah.
we're seeing offense. We're seeing him winning more faceoffs. I think he's been working on it and obviously has improved that. And the defense will only improve as he gets, back to the shape that he was in 2 years ago. His legs, typically when you have a couple of serious knee injuries, it takes 2 years really to be back to where you were. But he's getting there quick. I've liked the progress from the start of the year till now, and hopefully he only keeps improving. His pace and his defensive play and his face offs. And if that's the case, like he's a legitimate, effective top three center with given his size and all around capabilities.
Oh, I agree, 100%. He's starting to become a handful for opponent. He's drawing penalties. He's forcing players to hook him and to slash him just to contain him a little bit down low. I think in the second period he drew a penalty that I think led to a goal or at least to a power play opportunity for Montreal. And He's good, really good near the net. His hands are quick enough, and he manages to make moves and get shots off. So yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, Grant. And then again, it comes up to playing with the right guys do that play the way he needs to play, that he could feed off them,
Yeah.
and not make him do stuff that's not natural for him. Holding on to the puck, skating around, making clever passes is not his game. But if he plays his game, he could be really, really effective, and he's showing it. He really is.
Yeah, yeah. Although I think he can be pretty good on the cycle. You know, like his puck protection skills and his hands are pretty good. So I think he can control his puck possession can be half decent, but yeah, he's got to he's got to simplify it a bit. Use his body, cycle, get the puck to players. He's not the most creative. I'll agree with you on that. And if all those things come together and he plays a little harder, which I know he can, but I think part of it is just you got to get into optimum shape to do that, and it's still a little ways away for him, but it's improving by the week.
And we are back with Rick at a new locale. He's at the Shack, the Love Shack.
Nice, sir.
Nice sign you got in the background there. It's nice to have the contrast.
Hey, I bring HabsCast with me everywhere I go, my friend, and I'm at the Love Shack. Bang bang on the floor, brother.
Oh, there you go. Well, have fun up there. I know you like your little getaway, but
Yeah.
What were you asking me? I forget when we were off air.
So I think the question I had is there's maybe an assumption that Guhle is going to be with Hudson, and and Struble is going to move down with Carrier on that third pairing. But I'm starting to wonder. I go, is it maybe not an idea to have Struble stay with Hudson, as they have great chemistry and it's working out well, and have Carrier and Guhle be a really top shutdown line, against the team's best opponents and not penalty kill and all those things. I'm really starting to question if it should be that way around and not just have Guhle play with Hudson automatically. I don't know what you think, Grant.
Well, that's a good question, and I think I think you're on something there. I've been wondering the same thing. It just going back to last year, it just seems like Struble and Hudson have a chemistry, right? They play well together, and I mean it would balance out the bottom six pretty well too. I think it'd be kind of cool if there were none of the defensemen were getting less than 15 minutes a game, and in that scenario, that would probably be what happens. I think Struble, you'd have the cool thing is that you could have two PK pairings that are playing regularly to get all the time, even strength, and then you could put them out on the PK as well, right? Like, I mean, Carrier and Guhle be a penalty killing pair, and you've already got Matheson and Dobson doing it, so they'd be familiar playing with each other, even strength, and that would only help, I think, on the PK too. Well, where they're more familiar with each other because they're playing regularly together, and then the extra minutes that Guhle Carrier would get, as opposed to when Jackie's playing with Carrier, Struble would get a few less because he's not on the power play or much on the PK, right?
Mm-hmm.
So at even strength, if they're getting similar minutes, then everybody's getting 15 plus. Matheson isn't playing 25. Like, I liked last game, he had 22, and and I mentioned it last night in our 2.5 hour extravaganza that Marty St. Louis mentioned about managing minutes, and the biggest change was Matheson going from 27 to 22, and I think that may have been the main thing that he was thinking about. That and Demidov getting more ice time than Veleno. But you know, I think he got thinking, well, you know, we really have to try to cut back on the amount of minutes Matheson's playing. Not that he can't play 27, but it's not optimal, especially when you've got such other capable defensemen that can play
Right.
good minutes. So I think Carrier and Guhle would make a good pairing when it comes to just how they would complement each other. Like Carrier's not the biggest guy, and Guhle's got good size, right? So that would make them a decent pairing in that regard. The other two seem to be working as far as chemistry goes and playing well together. So I think they could try it, and if if it's working, fine. What I think is most important than anything is it would help. I think it would help balance out the ice time for the top six, and then you'd also have Jack. Don't get me wrong, he played well last game, and he's got to get into. Yeah. So he would platoon, I guess. I think when he comes in, they probably put him with Carrier, and put Guhle and Hudson together would be the more likely thing, because I don't know if they want Jack playing 15 plus a night when he is out there, but you know, he played that last game and he looked okay. So, but like I don't know if Jack and Hudson would work as a pairing. That would be the interesting thing. Would they switch them up then when Jack's in for Struble?
Yeah, and you know, we got to also think the Habs are looking to be a playoff team. I'd be shocked if they weren't. And you got to think long term, right? 5 minutes more every game for Matheson and Dobson. At the end of the year, kind of catches up to you a little bit. You give them 22 to 23 to 24 minutes a game generally. Get a little bit more juice as the season goes on, and those games become more critical, more tight. And there's the difference right there, because I think a lot of times the teams that do well in the playoffs have depth, and if the Habs can develop that depth right away as the season goes on, it'll just make them a better team come playoff time.
Yeah, for sure. No, I think they'll probably try it when Guhle comes back, and it'll be interesting to see how Carrier and Guhle work as a pair. They've played together before, but
yeah,
I think Carrier makes every partner look good so far when he's with the Canadians, and Guhle is also somebody that it's not hard to play with, really. As a rule, he's pretty dependable. So I think that pairing would work. So why break up? Just like why break up the Kapanen line? Unless you think that Oliver Kapanen's the next Jacob Delarose as somebody.
Oh!
I just got a little something to show here. Some fool on Twitter. Oliver Kapanen, if he didn't play with Demidov, and it's a picture of Delarose. 298 likes, which just goes to show you, Habs fans are an intelligent group overall, but there's still a few out there that aren't the sharpest knives in the drawer.
But I do wonder if those are not coming from people that have not seen Kapanen play this year, right? And they assume that he's it might be from non-Habs fans, maybe. I don't know. I don't know the person who put this up there.
Yeah, well, no, it would be from
I'm
Habs fans that are still going with the narrative that some media members don't like him, so he can't be good, right? And not actually watching him, and also overrating just how much Demidov helps line mates, because I mean, just like that assist last night, Newhook. On the Newhook goal where Kapanen made the great play. He was falling down, sprawling, and got it ahead to Newhook for his assist, right?
Right.
Was that Demidov directing it and saying, yelling over to him, okay, you fall down and you pass the puck up? Was that all because of Demidov? You know, does Demidov, is there a magnet in the puck? And whenever Kapanen has it, Demidov directs, okay, this is how you shoot. Like, I don't know. He's got twice as many goals as Demidov. And, scoring a goal is an art in itself. And you can't give the credit to somebody else when you actually put the puck in the net. The person that puts the puck in the net gets the credit. Like, is anyone going to say, well, Cole Caulfield, the only reason Cole Caulfield scores goals is because he plays with Nick Suzuki? No. Cole Caulfield is a friggin' natural goal scorer. That's why he scores goals. So, there is this, and I've seen it before with some people. Well, it's because he's playing with Demidov that he's got any points, but that's a ridiculous assertion as far as I'm concerned.
No, because Kapanen goals are not lucky goals. They're good shots. They're quality opportunities.
Right.
It's him jumping in. It's not like he's just standing there cluelessly and the puck bangs off his stick and goes into the net. That's not what's happening. Kapanen's making plays. Kapanen understands positioning. He's doing the same thing you showed many times before that he did in the Swedish Hockey League. He anticipates well, positions well, understands the plays that's going on around him, what everyone's trying to accomplish on the ice, and he reacts well. So, I think it's a very unfair assertion. I mean, Jacob De La Rose didn't have the hands and didn't have the speed that Kapanen had, right? And you put Jacob De La Rose or a type of guy like him on that line. Let's say, for example, Veleno, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't have great hands, doesn't anticipate as well offensively. Veleno doesn't score as many goals with Demidov as Kapanen.
No.
I'm convinced of that.
No, for sure. And Kapanen has a great shot. De La Rose didn't. DLR was a bit soft, and I think it's safe to say that that's not Kapanen either. No, it's a silly assertion, and hey, you can laugh it off. I mean, Kapanen isn't he isn't a fancy player. Like, he doesn't dangle like Demidov, and no one does. But I mean, he's not going to make real sexy plays, highlight real plays that. And people have a tendency to watch the puck, and they don't watch the player away from the puck. And Kapanen's real major asset is just the things that he does when the puck isn't on his stick too, right? He's he's just so smart and aware out there, and a lot of fans don't always necessarily notice that. And I think that's why there's this belief by a lot of them still that this is fluke. It's because he's playing with Demidov. It's and that the only way that you can be productive is if you're you do really fancy things with the puck. And no, there's a lot of very productive NHLers that aren't danglers. They just they do a lot of different things that make them a productive, efficient player. And that's the kind of player that Kapanen is, I believe.
Absolutely. And I also, another thing too is if the Demidov and his line score a lot off the rush or off the transition or off speed, and that happens when you're really good in the neutral zone. And I've said it many times, Kapanen is really strong in the neutral zone. He's often there to break up plays. He's often he keeps opponents on the sides, if you will. He has a good stick, and he makes it difficult for opponents to gain the blue line with speed because of the way he breaks up plays. And Demidov profits from that, and
Absolutely.
he doesn't do it as well as Kapanen. And when that happens, you're kind of getting the puck a lot more. You're coming in a lot more comfortably, and then you're forcing the opponents to run around. And Kapanen and Demidov take advantage of that, and Newhook too. And Newhook is also profiting from that because again, he's getting the puck at neutral ice with movement. He's gaining the blue line, good zone entries, and then again, the opponent is scrambling, trying to catch up to them, making mistakes, and that's one of the reasons why that line's been so good.
Well said. So you went to Olivia surprised you with tickets to a Rocket game on Friday night, didn't she?
Yes. I got an amazing daughter. She spent a lot of money to get us these really good tickets, and we had a fantastic night. Not the most exciting game, I in a sense, for a while, because the Hartford Wolfpack were really good at just breaking up plays and clogging the blue line and using their stick effectively. And for the first half of the game, Laval struggled quite a bit to establish a presence in the offensive zone with any kind of consistency. But as the game wore on and they started being a little bit less north-south, a little bit more east-west, and forcing the Wolfpack to run around and frustrating them and forcing the Wolfpack to get penalties, Laval took advantage of it, finished strong, 4-2 win. A fun game at the end, and it was a really solid performance in the second half for the team. And a lot of the younger players led the way. Yes, they also had a lot of support by the veterans like Laurent Dauphin, and Simoneau was really, really good that game, and Delgazo was really, really good that game. But you can't disregard the work of Davidson and the work of Fowler and Reinbacher that really were an important factor for the Rocket that game.
Yeah. Well, they're like, would you, if you were to say, like, list the prospects that you think are, most likely to play for the Habs sometime in the next 2 or 3 years, which ones would you signal out? I'm assuming those three would be in that group.
Yeah, the top three would definitely be, I'd say Reinbacher, Davidson, Fowler, and I'm putting Fowler third just because he's a goaltender. He's a bit further away from the NHL still. That's normal. That's nothing wrong
Yeah.
with that. Reinbacher, Davidson is probably the one that we're going to see in the NHL the soonest, I believe, because as much as Reinbacher shows a lot of good qualities and he's missed so many games, and I think at this point, I'd like to see him play in Laval the whole season. I know why
Yeah.
not solidify him. I want to see him still uh, gain a little bit more mass, a little bit more core strength, so that maybe that helps avoid some of his injuries. The last one was nothing he could have done about it, but you want to see him grow into that frame a little bit better, more solid on his feet, get more used to the game. Davidson is a pro, right? Davidson wants the puck on his stick. Davidson wants to be a factor. If he can't be a factor offensively, he was being a pain to the opponent, finishing his checks, getting involved in the scrums. He's got a really good shot. Skating has come along quite a bit. So I think he's the soonest ready for the NHL. I think if anybody is injured, um, I think Davidson is the first guy they're going to call up, and I expect to see him at Montreal soon enough. I really do.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And Jack Thorpe might be guys that, and Engstrom would be guys that I think have NHL potential, but they're a little ways away. Would you say?
I agree 100%. 100%. Jack still. I don't know if Jack is a center in the NHL. I know they're using him a lot, but I think it's to make him like the possibility of a fourth line center. But if not, at least you learn a lot being a center in the NHL, how to take the game and how to interpret what goes on around you. Definitely not saying you won't be. I'm not saying that. But I think they call him a unicorn, and I think that's what they want. They see him as a fourth line player that could do a lot of things for the team.
Yeah.
And I think that'll be his game. Edstrom, I just think he's a victim of the depth. It's just I don't see where he fits in with the Habs roster. So I think he's auditioning for elsewhere. I don't think it's going to be in Montreal, unfortunately. I really like his game. I love his skating. It's so beautiful, fluid to see. And then he's a lot more sure of himself. Holds onto the puck a little longer now, and not a bad thing, because with his skating ability, he can skate himself out of trouble when some guys can't. And Torp is the wild card in all this, just because there's so much growing, I think, in his body that he looks still lanky a little bit, and he's so tall that I think there's a good 20, 25 pounds he could gain on that frame, and he's already a big boy. and he moves well for a guy his size. Like he's not clumsy out there at all. At all, it's not very labored. I think if he gains that body mass, he'll be more effective on the physical game. He plays the body, but because of his lanky body, I think sometimes he seems to be a little bit off balance at times, so it's not as effective, I think, as he could be. But that's only a matter of time. Every game he does, he's an interesting guy because I like his small area game. He's not the guy that was going to be creative and open up the ice to make something, but he moves the puck really well in short passes, unexpectedly. At one point, he I was sure he was going to pass right, little backhand pass, opened up the play for I think Tuck to take a good shot on that. It was really clever on his part, but he does that like once a game. He surprises me with a really nice pass every time I've seen him play. He's a guy that I'm really intrigued the most about, really.
Yeah. And, like all of these guys, with the exception of Reinbacher, picked later than Mishar and Beck, who, I don't know, 2 years ago, I thought Beck was destined to be on the Habs by now, but it just, he didn't have a bad year last year, but I don't know that he made another. Doesn't look like there's been an improvement from last year to this year, and that had to happen. And now other guys have passed him. I already had Kapanen ahead, but now it's definitive that Kapanen's ahead of Beck. When it comes to depth, Jacky might be ahead of him too. Davidson has jumped ahead of Beck, I think, and we both agree on that. So, and then Meshar, he's back to he hasn't got a point in 7 straight or something like that. And with his size, he's going to have to be one of the leading scorers in the AHL to even get a sniff. And he's just the opposite. He's not producing at all. So those two are looking like they're looking less like top NHL prospects in the Montreal Canadiens organization at this time.
Yeah, no, I agree. The issue with Beck to me is always the same thing. There's, not everybody has great vision, but he really seems to have tunnel vision. He just doesn't spot anything or near him besides what's ahead of him, and that limits him. So he becomes more of a winger, more of a grinder guy. But at the same time, he doesn't stand out at that role. Like he's not like big enough. Like he's not bad size, but he's not like a really big, strong, hard guy. He's got that heavy shot, but the hands are not smooth enough, so the release is a little slow. The wind-up's a little slow. So the opponent sees the play develop pretty easily. They set up really well. So it's hard to figure out how he could fit into the NHL right now. I think it's going to be one of those things where maybe if you could find a team that needs a fourth line player that's strictly a penalty killer, maybe that might be something. But you got to be a little bit more than that, I think, in the NHL, and especially you got to show more than that in the AHL to be considered, right? It's like people say, right? Fourth line player in the NHL probably scored 20, 25 goals at some point in their career. And if you're not getting anywhere near there, it's hard to figure out what you'll be.
Yeah, right. Meshar is just
skates around. It's all I see. It's all I saw from him. There's a few times where he took off and it looks interesting, but he's just so far away from the net all the time that nothing really is going to happen. And I think the opponent knows it. They kind of give him room to skate around in circles for a round, and then eventually the play dies. And I just don't know what he can do. To me, he's strictly a European player. He's going to play a little bit in North America, maybe enjoy it, make a few bucks, and I see him going back to to play in Switzerland or Sweden or probably something like that. I don't even see him in the KHL. I don't think his style suits him for the KHL, to be honest. I think it's more like Switzerland, Sweden, one of those two places, which is great. Nothing wrong with that. Well, but for the NHL, I just don't see it.
Or Slovakia. He'd be
Or Slovakia, yeah. I think there's probably more money to be made in Switzerland. That's why maybe he'd want to go there, unless he just wants to go home too. I don't know. Don't know the guy personally, but
No,
I just don't think it's an NHL prospect.
yeah, well,
Sorry, Scott, if you're listening. I know that might upset you, but Scott
no,
Thompson's
no,
a huge
no.
SR fan. But again, at this point, it's been too many years that I haven't seen anything.
Yeah, yeah. Scott Thompson's not going to be on your
No, I'm sorry.
Christmas list.
Lovely man, but
Yeah,
sorry about that.
well, he's not quite as. I mean, you got to realize that it hasn't worked out yet for him, and he's got probably one more year to get it figured out, and at that point, I could see him heading. Maybe not being re-signed and heading, unless it's another organization that gives him a shot. Maybe sometimes that's what happened, but he may be best suited for European hockey and be a good player there. It's a fine line between being a good um, North American pro and being a good, a decent European pro. Uh, Sometimes they just don't quite make the adjustment that you'd hope. But anyway, that's why you don't just draft in the first and second round, and you try to get as many top 90 picks as you can. And some, there'll be some that pan out, some that don't. Just like Mishak being picked mid second round. Well, he didn't work out, but Kapanen, picked
Yeah,
later, did work out, and so that's why I've always been a proponent of getting not trading away your second round and third round picks necessarily, and unless you're picking up a really valuable piece, but that they can the more cracks at it that you have in the top 90 or top 100, especially Montreal, because they seem to be doing a hell of a job getting players between 60 and 100 that turn out to be really good picks, right? There's been a bunch of them, so um,
yeah.
keep doing that. When you've got a staff that excels at that kind of thing, give them the ammunition, right?
Yeah, and having those picks gives you a chance to go for a home run. You see that sometimes where people say, "Well, I don't think he's going to make it, but if he does, he'll be a hell of a player." Well, you could, if you have a few second round and third round picks, you could pick one of those guys.
Yeah,
If you never have any picks, you kind of you're forced to go a bit safer sometimes just to have some bodies.
right.
Um, so give yourself that option to go for that home run and see what happens. I think it's a really good philosophy, and hopefully teams are going to stop giving. Well, I don't care what the other teams do. Hopefully, the Habs won't give away those second round picks too easily and really value them.
Yeah, I agree. Um, and also, I think when you have more, Montreal has shown that they will move up, right, and target a
Yes,
player. Like
yes,
they didn't have the 34th pick in the last draft, right?
yeah,
They moved up because they had a couple of second round picks and they
right,
had third round picks, and you know, they could afford to move up because they had the bullets to do it.
yeah,
So uh, I'm a believer in you've targeted players and you've got them high on your list. If you've got the extra picks to move up to get that player, because I'm sure they had Jarosky top 20. You don't move up
yes,
to 34 unless you've got a guy ranked. Typically, it'd be top 20 on your list, and or you don't make the move. You don't get rid of another second round asset to move up. If they didn't have him ranked 28 to move up to
definitely
34.
not,
You know what I mean?
definitely not.
Yeah. So and NHL lists are so different. Like it would shock people just how varied they can be.
Yeah,
There'd be players picked in the second round that some teams have top 15. They're always. So it's just it's the way it is. But yeah, that's good good little chat on Rockets. Let's get to our prospect of the week.
oh
I
yeah,
uh, I decided to go to NCAA and this is somebody that we haven't profiled in a while, but he had a pretty decent game against Notre Dame the other day. And it's the little guy, LJ Mooney. Let's have a look at his shifts from this
Absolutely.
game. He, what you notice instantly with him just always is that burst, right? He's got to be one of the fastest players in college hockey and he's only a freshman, and that's not, that's only going to get better as he goes along. But his edges and his burst, he's the little guy. If you didn't, there he's on the right, went to the net, but he's the little guy that's going faster than everybody else. If you're always wondering, little guy in yellow, number 18. And okay, we got him circled here, but here he gets it out. He had a goal and an assist, but not crazy about his defense. That'd be the part of the game that definitely he's years away from competing for an NHL spot because of that, and in part because he's so small too, right? I mean, he's just not able to battle against bigger guys down low in his own zone. He's their line. He was with Zemer, but he got put down. There he did, tried to get it out. That wasn't a very good play. They were bottled up. He was on the third line. He's not with Zemer anymore. They were bottled up in the first period quite a bit. And you see him here not really doing a lot as far as getting the puck back. He did get it out finally there, but here, and like, what was he doing there? Now he's way out of the play, right?
Right.
The other team comes back, and he, there was no use of him doing that. But then you see this burst. Yeah. Once they have the puck, you love them. But when the other team has the puck, there's work to do, safe to say. And hey, Caulfield was not the same, but he was similar at that age too, right? There was work to do away from the puck, and it's safe to say that there he almost got in. Again, when his team has the puck, you love him. When the other team has the puck, I wouldn't say you loathe them, but you're not quite as excited. What are you seeing here? Look at the edges, eh?
That's the first thing I noticed. The hands, the moving up, moving down, sideways. There's puck control that's really impressive, and I think some players control the puck quickly and kind of statically, but he controls the puck moving up, moving back, kind of going sideways, extending his arms, bringing them back. So he gives you a little bit more of a look. Defensively, you're spot on. He has to use the speed to cut lanes, to do things like that. He can't chase. You can never chase when you're playing at a higher level because you're going to be always running around and always out of position and always having to catch up to the play. You got to really use your speed to cut the angles, use your stick. There's no point in him engaging physically at his size. Like, it's not going to affect much. It's not going to intimidate anybody. He's not going to do anything like that. So use your stick and your positioning to break plays. And with that speed and those edges, you could go up the ice with authority and make plays, kind of like we're saying before with Debunking and Kapanen, where you transition really well with good defense. If you're chasing, running around, all you're going to do is keep your team bottled in and running around. And that's what he's in college hockey for, to learn that.
Excellent stuff, Rick. Unfortunately, we got to cut this episode short. Having some issues with my battery charging, but he did have a nice goal, and I'll post it on Twitter after this. But he did look good away from the puck, and certainly he's got NHL speed and hands all day, and there's Marty developed Caulfield away his total game over the last 3 years, and who better to have as a mentor if he does make the NHL than Marty St. Louis, and hopefully he can do the same thing and mold this kid into an effective NHLer someday as well.
Absolutely. Good fourth round pick. A guy with his flaws, but with some upside. That's what you want.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, Rick, we're gonna have to wind this up. I really appreciate
Right,
you
Grant?
coming on at the shack, and we'll get together sometime this week again. Hopefully soon.
Absolutely, Grant. Thanks again for as always, and thank you to all the listeners.
Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a good day.
Thank you.